And we are live. Welcome to episode 16 of the Qué Pasó podcast. I'm Ernest.
I'm Ozzy. And
And I
this is
am
Tarciso.
Tarciso from Brazil.
And
Brazil.
he is our special guest this evening. Eduardo would love to be here, but has joined the migrant caravan and he's making his way to America. So we wish him well.
Yeah.
Uh,
¿Qué tal bien, Eduardo?
Yeah, cuídate, amigo. Um, so with that, we have Tarciso here. Um, he is from Brazil, as you said, and we're going to get right into it. We have some special developments in my country of choice, Peru. The president of Peru, well, the former president, I should say, Alan Garcia, has decided that he needs to leave the country. He's also not allowed to leave the country because, he's involved in the Odebrecht scandal. Apparently, he's taken a significant amount of money from the people, or from Odebrecht, I should say, and now he is, he's paying the price.
He tried to escape to Uruguay, if I heard correctly.
He went to the Uruguayan embassy in Lima. He has applied for political asylum, saying that he is a going to be a political prisoner. This is a coordinated effort against the Aprista Party, which is the the Revolutionary Party of the Americas. But there's nothing. The only revolutionary thing they've ever done is pretty much run the Peruvian economy into the earth. So, thanks. And for anyone who doesn't know about Alan Garcia, he was president of Peru in the 80s. Actually, he was the president before Alberto Fujimori. And he's
Chino Loco.
Yeah, oh yeah, El Chino. And the best thing is that he screwed the economy so badly in Peru, they had to get rid of the currency. They had to take away and bring in the Nuevo Sol.
Pretty much like what they did in Venezuela, the Bolívar Soberano.
Oh no, this one, well, it wasn't as bad as that. That there is a nightmare. But the strange thing about it is that, like, well, I shouldn't say strange, but he rammed everything into the ground, and then he bumbled away, and he should have been happy with that, but he decided Alan Garcia needs to go again and be president of the República de Peru, and he did, and they brought him back, and he then proceeded to not screw up as badly as he did the last time, but he still didn't do a fantastic job. But the funny thing is now is like the Odebrecht scandal is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, it's wiped out. It's wiped out as Tarciso knows. It's killed off essentially Lula da Silva.
We can thank Odebrecht for Bolsonaro, basically.
Tarciso, we can't really hear you. Is there any way you can turn up your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, now we can hear you.
So you want me to talk about Lula something?
Well, how do you feel about what's going on with the Cubans? Man,
look, the leftists they say it's a terrible problem because the small cities will be without their doctors, because there's a lot of Brazil is a huge country, as you know, and there's a lot of small cities where the Brazilians doctors doesn't want to be, you know. So the Cubans accept that because they have nothing to lose because in their country they live in dictatorship. So in my opinion, their contract it's like a modern slavery, because 75% of what they receive goes to the Cuban government, you know. So
Yeah.
and they have a lot of ridiculous contracts, like they cannot be in a relationship with non-Cuban people, They cannot bring their family to Brazil, so their family. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
O Vinon Dias saiu da chamada. Can I keep talking?
Yes, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah, of course.
So they can bring their family to Brazil, So they live in a contract of slavery, I would say, because their family are there in Cuba like hostages. They cannot bring their family to Brazil. They have the bad luck to was born in that country, and they don't have a choice. And Cuba does this with the doctors, not only here in Brazil. They sell their doctors to a lot of countries in Brazil. As far as I know, it's like 75 uh, countries. You know. So in my opinion, it's gonna be bad because the small cities will be without their doctors, without health. But you know, it has to be done. You know.
Well, I mean, we can't keep this kind of thing going. I mean, like essentially, enslaving these doctors, making them work for for really nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They like products of Cuba. You know.
well, somebody has told me that they use a lot of people use the Cuban doctor. Cuba, since Cuba doesn't have any real resources, they have nothing to really offer the world except these doctors. They use them like the United States uses guns and China uses its money to get
Mm-hmm.
influence. Um,
I've heard. In fact, I remember that I heard correctly a long time ago. Cuban doctors are actually the best doctors in the Americas for many people, actually.
I've heard mixed. I mean, I know Venezuela used to have very good doctors too. Um,
Keyword there, used.
yes, now they're all gone. Now they're all in every other country except Venezuela. Funny story actually. I have to point this one out, and even Tarciso might laugh at this. There's this person who is on Twitter. He's an American from New York, and he is the greatest Chavez supporter I have ever seen in my life. Um, he thinks Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro are essentially gods. That there is no problems with Venezuela. Any crisis that is there is caused by imperialism, and pretty
Evil
soon he's probably going
USA.
to start. He's going to start blaming Bolsonaro. I think. Um, I invited him on to debate, the wonders of the revolution. He decided that we
Said no.
weren't good enough for him because he went on Tucker Carlson.
How
Oh,
convenient, right?
I'm sorry?
How convenient, right?
I
yeah.
know exactly. And I mean, it's funny because I used to be a socialist. Well, actually, no, I wasn't even a socialist. I was a Trotskyist. So I know how this game is played. I wanted a revolution to come when I was younger. Thank God it didn't. By the way, um, because then I would live in a yurt and probably I don't know dig potatoes all day. um, but
I have friends from Venezuela, and the situation there it's worse. They eat when they eat, it's like once a day. And the law doesn't they doesn't have law anymore. That's been cases of the forces of Maduro. invading houses and killing people and robbing their stuff.
I I
They doesn't
I've
want.
heard I've heard it too. I had a friend who worked there as a doctor, and they were telling me, like, I did my first real podcast interview. I did it with this person, and when we were talking, and she says, "Well, we didn't have bandages, we didn't have medications, we had nothing, um, and people just kept dying, and sooner or later, I just got tired of it. I got tired of people dying in front of me, and I stopped for the time being a doctor." Luckily, they have escaped to Uruguay, unlike Alan Garcia. Um, so, I'm very glad. Um, Alan Garcia was known as
Yeah.
I Caballo Loco. No, I thought that was the former president of Ecuador. There was no. He was known as El Loco. Yeah, sorry. 'Cause there's a couple of crazy ones. There's also a president of, I believe, Bolivia, that gave Brazil a bunch of land because his horse stepped on a map. But that's pretty fun. But you know what? I actually give Bolsonaro credit for calling out Cuba about this, because Brazil, for all its problems in it, Brazil used to have a large slave, population, when the empire was in.
So
And I
well,
think that.
Brazil,
Sorry.
Brazil until nowadays, it's not like a open an open market to the world. So when Lula become the president of Brazil, they didn't want it to make a lot of how can I say, contracts with the big countries, the countries that will provide the best prices, the best products. They wanted to make alliances with the socialists here in South America. So
Hmm.
he's really close to Maduro, really close to the Fidels. He's really close to the president of Peru and Bolivia. He thinks himself like a king of South America. He didn't want it to be like the small guy of a reunion of big countries like French, like Germany, U.S., Canada. They wanted to have his own club. With the socialists of South America.
Um,
Like with Brick
can I
when
ask
he
you
was with
something?
the. Oh, go ahead, Ozzy.
Can I ask you something, Tarciso?
Yeah,
Um,
Pablo.
yes. Do you I mean, do you support Bolsonaro or you support Haddad? I just wanted to like a clarification. I'm not gonna attack you or nothing. Just asking.
No, no problem. Man, I vote for Bolsonaro. I'm
Okay.
a libertarian, okay? He's not. He's not.
Hmm.
He wasn't liberal a few years ago, but now he got this this new liberal speech because that's what people want here now. So I had to vote for him because PT just brought us to the worst crisis of our time. So we couldn't have another left wing in Brazil anymore.
Mm. Seems fair enough. Yeah.
But now, sorry.
Mhm. No. Go on. Go on.
I was gonna ask Tarciso though, like, as a Brazilian though, are you kind of worried that Bolsonaro will bring, the military regime back, because he seems to really like them.
Brazilian
No,
Part Two.
that's no, not at all. That's like how can I say, scandal of the left wing. They wanted to paint him as a new demon on earth. But not at all. He just want to bring the economy
The
back. He does.
uh, in fact, there was a. I remember that
In
was a long
fact,
time ago on a leftist server,
in fact,
and some of them basically said
Oh,
that when Bolsonaro snatched the election, they said this feels like a coup, like a military coup, and I was like, wait, what? I mean, yeah,
No,
you don't like it, but that doesn't make it a coup.
yeah, yeah. In fact, he really liked to talk good about the dictatorship we had here in Brazil, for 20 years, the military
Hmm.
dictatorship. That's not the case. He doesn't need that, People here in Brazil
Hmm.
right now, they hate PT. So it doesn't matter if Bolsonaro had lost or the PT won. Doesn't matter. The the military could give the coup with or without him in the president. You know.
Hmm.
It's, but I mean, like I'll tell you this though. I mean, for everyone talking so much, trash about him, he's picked some really good people for his cabinet. I mean, I really like Sergio Mora. I really like him.
Yeah. But he went to US to study the laundry money. So yeah, he's really good. When he was in his state, he was already famous in Brazil. The most productive uh, guy there in the court.
Cool.
Oh, definitely. But like, are people like around you really were they really sick of people like Lula and Dima and even that idiot Temer?
Oh,
Um,
damn. Now
Yeah,
renunciaré. And you
what I
did.
am, what I'm afraid is that people doesn't understand economy. So
Hmm.
there's a global crisis coming, in the opinion of many economists. U.S. and China are living in a bubble, and that's gonna explode anytime. So we have to do as fast as we can the reforms for this crisis doesn't affect us uh, too much. But they have to gain the Congress support. Without that, we're gonna be in a very very bad situation in the next months. So
Hmm.
if they don't do what they have to do, the reform, Brazil is really close to the rest of the world. We have a lot of bureaucracy. We have a lot of corruption. It's really hard to create a company in Brazil. It's like 3 months to make your own company, and a lot of more months to end it. So we have to do as fast as we can the reforms, because soon we're gonna have to deal with the crisis that is coming to us, and
Hmm.
we live in a deficit right now. So we have to adjust the, the counts of the government for for we can do the proper reforms we have to do.
Okay.
mm.
What do you think, Ernest?
I think he's right. I mean, Brazil has suffered so many years under left wing governments that the economy stagnated, and when the economy stagnates, you get crime. And I mean, Brazil always did have a somewhat of a crime problem, but now it's getting worse. I mean, Rio de Janeiro is horrible for it. I mean, the favelas are out of control. People are walking around with rifles and military grade equipment, and the regular police in Brazil, they can't handle that. They don't have the equipment to fight them. And
They cannot handle it, and they don't even try because they don't have the equipment to do that.
well, I
You
mean, they're
know?
scared. I mean, they
Yeah,
they don't want to go because I mean, you're going up against somebody with a handgun. You got a handgun, and this guy's got an AK-47. You're in trouble.
Also
Um,
consider this: the police is not being paid enough to deal with a drug dealer.
oh yeah, they're really badly played. It paid. It's the same in Peru. Like when I went down to there, Um, in Lima, I knew a lot of friends who I got a lot of friends who were with the PNP, and so I just said to them, I said, guys, I mean, you're on patrol. Where's your armor? Where's your vest? And he just looks at me and he goes, What do you mean? I was like, your vest, for bullets. He's like, I have a shirt. That's my vest.
Really?
That's he literally he just said, yeah, that's my vest. I was like, is that because he was a riot policeman? I goes, is the shield bulletproof? He's like, it's made of plastic. It's like, oh, so how do you protect yourself? And he's just like, I have a gun. It's not a very good gun, but it's a gun. It's like,
it's better than nothing.
So I'm just like, so you're like, you survive on guts. He's like, yup. It's like, at least this money's good, right? He's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
I make like $1,000 a month. I was like, oh shit.
And the most problem, if reforms are not made and things do not get better in the incoming months, people will say, "You saw this? The free market failed. We need the left in power again."
Yep.
That's how it's gonna be. Like, I don't know if you are aware of what's happening in Argentina. That's what people are saying, that free market was failed in Argentina, and now they need a new leftist.
Oh, that's a big problem. I mean, because left leaning markets don't like left leaning economic systems don't work. You can't have government running everything. I've seen it here. And some of our guests have heard me, or some of our listeners have heard me talk about this before. You see, so here in my province, in Canada, the government built this giant hydroelectric dam. And this was a conservative government who did it. And the dam was owned and is managed by it's a state-owned company. Now, they're the only it's a monopoly system. There's two companies. There's Nalcor, which is they generate the electricity, and then there's a company called Newfoundland Power, which is a private company, but it's in a monopoly. It controls distribution. So there's no room for growth in that sector for the private business. No one else can come in and build without the state power company saying you have permission. And as you know, that's a problem. It slows down growth. But the problem with this project is that they told us it was going to cost like $4 billion, and then we would take all the electricity and sell it to the United States. Unfortunately, and it was going to be built last year. We're 80% done. The project now costs, I think it's $10 billion. The company we hired to build the project is now bankrupt and is facing some, I believe, a criminal investigation. And the electricity bills here are going to double, and they're already expensive. So, with that,
there is a monopoly in the energy.
Yes, it is. There was a company that tried to do wind energy, but that got stalled. The national energy regulator came in and just said no. Or the provincial and
It's a modern field, right? A modern fish. Nobody else can act in this area here. Just the friends of the government. And if you try it, you're gonna be spanked.
Wow, our chat is very, very lively today, but I can't understand a word of it because it's all in Portuguese.
I don't have the link. Can you send it to me in the Twitter?
Yes, I can. I will send that. But Since I said we should talk about the migrant caravan, I'm going to have to for a second. Apparently they are causing a lot of trouble for those who are listening here. Um, the Americans, I don't believe, have let the migrants in, um, and I don't know if they really should because most of these countries are just crappy. They're not really in any problems. Like I know, Tarciso, Brazil has seen a lot of Venezuelans come in. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. In the north of Brazil, we have a lot of Venezuelan entering.
The jungle region actually has caused had a lot of problems with them because the Venezuelans are coming in from the northern borders, and they they overwhelm the services there. Like I know, like the hospitals and that are having trouble handling sick Venezuelans, and the social services and the police are having trouble as well. I think.
They don't have the structure to receive this amount of people, because they are already poor in the north of Brazil, in Amazonia. So they shouldn't be taking so much people in so little time,
Oh, definitely, and that's like the United States is a very 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 big country, but these things affect the resources as well, um, and it's actually going to be quite the problem. And now they're already lined up at the borders. I mean, between the United States and Mexico, thousands of people, and they said, like we don't want to stay in Mexico. We don't want Mexican jobs. We don't want Mexican food. We want to go to America. Um, and I don't think that's good. I think that's something that we should, it seems very ungrateful. And I mean, I know Eduardo wanted me to say this. That's why I'm bringing it up. But we have a lot of problems with that. I mean, or he has a lot of problems with it because a lot of these Latin countries. I mean, Brazil has let in as many Venezuelans as possible because the situation in Venezuela is horrifying. And Ozzy is back. Ozzy, the caravan. I was just mentioning to Tarciso.
Oh yeah, any new development? Aside from the fact that two gay couple married in the caravan.
Yeah, that was. I'm not sure why that was such a big deal, but congratulations on the happy couple.
Yeah. Now, my question is this: if America is so racist, so homophobic, so misogynistic, why they're going there?
It's probably better than Central than Centam.
Yeah. Now, if I can give my 2 cents about the caravan,
Sure.
I'm not opposed to migration in any shape or form. I mean, the three of us here, we're the sons of migrants. I'm the son of a migrant. I mean, my great grandfather, I think, was a Spaniard who fled the war in Spain, the Spanish Civil War. And so, of course, I have no problem with it. Now, the problem I have with it is this idea, this myth, most leading people sell. This idea that migration is so beautiful that it does amazing things. Well, it does. But it does when the process is controlled, when the process is not a horde of people that come unchecked across the border. Well, many people obviously use the example of the fall of the late Roman Empire, that they lived in barbarian tribes and later destroying the inside. But I'm not going to use that example because what I'm trying to say is that the problem is this idea that we should let them in because they're looking for refuge and we should let them in. No, they should take every measure to cross legally. By every measure of the law, they should have to cross legally. Welcome. I have no problem.
Ozzy, you're roboting.
What?
You're
Oh,
robotic. But by the way, Cairo Lee has asked us that do we all agree that Cuba is a dictatorship?
mm, I mean, I difference with that statement, but I will say no. I say that since Castro died and Fidel and his brother Raul is in power, I doubt that I call it a dictatorship because I would say it's more like a authoritarian regime, like with a strong image on the president. But no, I want to say I want to say dictatorial.
And
Hello.
Tarciso, how do you feel about Cuba? Do you think it's a dictatorship?
I think that Cuba is a dictatorship because they doesn't have the choice, man. They was born there, and they can leave the country, The people that are being sold to other countries cannot bring their families. So where's their opinion? Where's their choices being respected?
And
Hmm.
it's true, and that like I mean that's a reason that, and I've said it on Twitter. If you follow me, Ernest_Snooks, gotta shout myself out. But I have refused to go to Cuba until the dictatorship there collapses, which unfortunately is probably not going to be for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Fun story.
I'm yep.
My mom my mom went there because my mother is a teacher, and she went to some I think it was a congress or something to Cuba. He stayed in Varadero and also went to Havana. Havana, oh, na, na. And I asked her,
That's the
please,
that's the best part of Cuba, right? Varadero and Havana. That's the beautiful
Varadero,
part,
Havana. Yes, yes.
right?
And I asked her,
If
how
you
is
further, you're gonna see that's not the beautiful beach.
Yeah, like you go to Cienfuego and Nil de la Pina, and
Mm. Yeah, and so I asked her, so how is Cuba? Because I have this like everyone has like this image of Cuba that is so happy, so colorful, but and most beautiful city. And she told me, first of all, there are two types of coins
there
in
is.
Cuba. Uh, one for Cubans and one for tourists. I still don't know. I don't know why they do it. She told me that school in school, kids go to school. According to her, they use the same uniform Che Guevara used, and this like olive green uniform is that is clearly inspired on the U.S. uniforms. Um, even asked her, if you want to bring me something, bring me a beret, like one that El Che had, and she went everywhere. No one was selling it, and she asked, "Why you don't sell it? Why you sell only the cap of Fidel?" Because for them, the beret of El Che is sacred. In fact, she told me that El Che is basically a god in Cuba. They revere his image a lot. Um, in fact, they love him more than Fidel. I mean, yeah, Fidel was president, Fidel was el presidente, but el Che was el Che, el guerrillero, el revolucionario. And well, she brought me some books. One of them is Pedagogía en la idea del Che, like how to teach according to the method of El Che, some other writings of El Che, and I'm currently reading it. And yeah, he's a commie, but he was a smart guy.
No, yeah, he was a medical doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and he was also related to a famous Chilean. Um, uh, Ozzy, have you ever heard of Patricio Lynch?
Patricio Lynch was that guy a president? I remember
No,
correctly.
I don't think he. No, he wasn't. I don't think he was president, but they used to call him the Red Prince. I think I'm trying
Oh
to remember
yes.
because you know who I'm talking about now. He freed all the he freed all the Chinese slaves in Peru. And then his and then his descendant helped enslave Cubans. So kind of a
that's how the family does. But it's funny that when people talk about just a side note, when they talk about Chinese slave laborers in Peru and northern Chile, I thought they were talking about a lot, but there weren't too many. There were a few hundreds at least.
And yeah, there was more in Guyana. Crap! I'm sounding like a Venezuelan. Guyana. Like, there was more like there's a word they call them. I'm not going to say it, but like it was. Well, the Guyanese people consider it a slur. It's like they used to call them coolies, like coolie laborers and that. I don't like to use these kinds of words because I have a lot of friends who are from Guyana and from India, and they get really upset when you say it. But that's what it is, and I mean, but I think. By the way, if you guys look at our chat is booming today. If Eduardo was here, he would be overjoyed.
Yeah. So, what did it say?
It's mostly in Portuguese. So I thank Tarciso for increasing our viewership. But
you're famous.
But also making it all in Portuguese. And I only speak middling Spanish, and Ozzy speaks some kind of Spanish that no one else in South America understands.
It's a strange dialect called Chileno.
I thought it was just called Borracho.
Yeah. But it's funny that everyone in Latin America says that we Chileans speak badly. And I don't blame them. Because I've heard Peruvians, Bolivians, Argentinians. I say everyone in Latin America speaks Spanish better than Chileans. And this is a Chilean saying it. For example, one time I heard a Bolivian girl speaking. It melted my heart. Because they speak so well. They speak proper Spanish. And she was like, "Hola, ¿cómo está mi rey?" Are you talking to me? And I don't know. I was like, oh my God, marry me, my princess of the Titicaca, please.
But you see, the problem is that then you see the Bolivians, and all I can think about when I see a Bolivian is Evo Morales. So I refuse to. I mean, I'm sure La Paz is very nice. I know one Bolivian, and he's part Russian.
Wow.
So I think he's probably like the best looking one they've got over there. The rest of them are all like short.
I'll send you for WhatsApp. Then we will talk.
Well, listen, I'm sure everyone has their beauty, but I mean, like, I will say this. I think the most beautiful women are tied between Brazil and Venezuela. I think.
Say the same.
But yeah. I made a joke a while back, and now we're just kind of just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Eduardo is probably screaming at his phone. No, we miss you, Eduardo. We can't wait to have you back, man, because he's just like, it's all out of control.
Yeah.
We're off topic. But danger. But no, like, remember Ozzy a while back, I came up with this theory that when the Venezuelans flee south, they will bring their good genes with them, the genetics. And
yes.
And that's why the great sexy shift, I called it.
Like the Great American Exchange, in which we exchange species with North America and South America, like saber-toothed cats came down here and all that stuff. It will be the same.
But yeah, no, like I said that if Brazilians and Venezuelans copulated and had children, those they would no longer be humans. They would become gods. and it would just be it'd be like staring at an angel. You know, like it says in the I think it says in the Bible somewhere that if you stare at an angel, like you'll go blind.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Tarciso, what'd you say?
A Brazilian with a Venezuelan will become a god.
With a Venezuelan now, if you add an Asian to that, oh my no, like
Oh my god.
Mr. Medicare would go crazy.
Oh yeah. Holy shit. I mean, I already go crazy for an Asian girl, an Asian Latina girl. Holy shit.
I'm gonna keep you out of Lima. You're not allowed in Lima with me. Like if we go to the barrio, if you go to the barrio chino, it's just Dios mío, God. Oh, gracias.
I will
Dios.
sack the city. I will sack the city like in the Pacific War.
Oh,
again.
Yeah, no, we don't need that again. Okay, it'll be Ozzy, liberator of the Chinas.
Yeah. Instead of sacking the city and taking up books and all shit, I will steal all the chinas.
Hey
But
guys, so
The second of
no,
Lima.
so yeah, yes.
the debate is over. We're gonna talk about silly things, foolishness.
No, we're good now. We're good. I'm sorry, man. No, we have this
Sorry, we just
problem.
get too carried away. Okay, so turning to topic. What we're talking about?
We were about just economic. We can kind of go on about economics now, I think, because that's always an interesting topic for me. I know that Tarciso is a fan of Ludwig on Mises, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like what he says on bureaucracy. And because I actually see, as someone who is involved in politics to an extent here, I see it as like the bureaucracy is honestly the greatest threat to a free market, or one of the bigger threats.
The bureaucracy kills people every day.
Yep.
No, yeah, it really does. I mean, like even here, I've seen it. My province is one of the poorest in Canada, and it is a nightmare to start a business. The regulations are crazy, and then you have the labor laws. And the worst thing is people here. I can't say worst thing, but people here know the law how to manipulate it. So you'll have people come in and say, "Oh yeah, I'm working here, but I hurt my back. I need to go on workers' compensation." And then you'll see them 2 days later at the nightclub dancing, and they take advantage of it. But now in my province, they've started to fight to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And I'm terrified of this, not because I'm not a business owner or anything. I just work in a shop. But raising the minimum wage does absolutely nothing to make people less poor. It actually makes more people poor.
A lot of work rights, but there's no job for them, right? So it doesn't matter in the end.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the problem, because people here are saying, we need to fight for 15, and I said, well, and I've been debating this, and I've been in trouble for it. I've got people yell at me and curse me out and give me trouble. They say, well, what do you want to do? How would you make people less poor? Well, I said it's easy. I said you lower taxes. You help people find out what their talent is. You help them improve that talent to the point where they can get to a position where they can make good money, or where they can demand a higher salary. If you're good at fixing vehicles, the government, well, not the government, but I mean either through a charity or a private initiative, or even through some sort of loan, help this person go to school, get the proper certifications as a mechanic or as a as a civil engineer, things like that, and get them out, and and then say to them, look, you're done. We're going to lend you some money to start a business. When you get that business started, we're going to give you a tax break for, say, I don't know, 2-3 years till you get on your feet. Then you start paying it off.
Oh.
And that, and people here don't like that. When I was growing up, the only thing I was ever told is that the only way to survive in Newfoundland is to either work for the oil industry or you work for the government. Because that's the only security. And honestly, guys, it's true. Government is the only place you'll get a good pension. It's the only place where you can pretty much burn the place down and you won't get fired, because if you're not in management, the union protects you. And it's a problem because now the unions have too much power. Tarciso, you're gonna like this. Last year, they made a deal that do you know what severance pay is?
Severance?
Yeah, like when somebody leaves a job, they get paid. They get like a certain amount of money.
No, I don't know that.
Here in Canada, they have something called severance, and if it's in your contract, you get paid. Like if you quit your job, usually if your company goes bankrupt, or well, not bankrupt, no, if your company is downsizing, they got to get rid of you, but they owe you money, so they give you severance pay. I'll try to find the phrase in Portuguese. It is indenização. I guess I'm gonna I can't pronounce.
You're making a.
You win the translator.
One second here. I'll just send it to you on the DMs. This is.
In my opinion, we're talking about the causes of poverty. That's it.
The causes of poverty and how do we increase? How do we bring people out of poverty?
Look, here in Brazil, the poor people, they have no rights. The Constitution says they have a lot of rights. They have the rights of to have a house. They have the right to have job. They have a lot of rights in the Constitution. But in the reality, we have nothing. For example, a poor guy that are living in favela does not even have a proof. If he cannot have a proof of residence to get a job, and how he gonna make money if they cannot look for a job? And the taxes, the minimum wage are getting increasing every year. The first step of this journey are getting higher and higher. So the people will start to get to be more poor. And for example, if he tries to sell ice cream on the beach, without all the government licenses, he'll be robbed by the police. So that's how you start to understand why Brazil is still poor.
Hmm. It for us at least. I don't know how it is in Chile, but for us, what it is the taxes, the regulations, and we have this attitude here. And the attitude is that there's no hope for this area. You have to be a migrant worker. You have to work for, it's like some people I know, they'll work for 6 months and they will work, 40, 50, 60-hour days or 50, 60-hour weeks. And then they will go home and collect something called unemployment. Now, what that is that if you work in Canada, if you work 400 hours or more, and then you get you don't get fired, but you get laid off. Like you get, you just told there's no work for you.
Yeah.
The government pays you a portion of the old salary you used to make. So if you made, say, $4,000 a month, the government will give you probably about 2,500 to 3,000 for about a year, and that's it. And that's what happens every year. You've got thousands and thousands of people who do this, and they treat it like it's an entitlement. And the thing is that if you're working only half the year, and the rest of the year the government is paying you to stay at home, the government isn't making income. So then everything else suffers. The roads suffer. We can't pay the police as much. We can't pay for new equipment at the hospital. My hospital is new. It's like 20 years old, but it's for us that's new, and I'm scared to go there. It's horrifying in that place. It's horrifying. Um, I think you understand. I think if you understand what I'm trying to say, Tarciso.
Yeah, no, I do understand. Looks what Kaido is saying. We don't have security with the contracts, So if you want to contract a guy, that's a lot of stuff in the workers law, and you can and you can be, sorry the word, you can be fucked by the government and lost your a lot of your money, and your company will break.
Yeah, it
Uh,
it
I
it.
would like to,
Yep. Sorry.
I would like to make a question to Pablo. How about
Okay.
the, the health in Chile nowadays? And I was told that you doesn't have any more free public universities. That is true.
Well, I'm not well versed on the topic, so sorry if I don't have all the information I had. But what I know is this: in Chile, only the private healthcare system is the only one is the one you have to go, because the public system has collapsed. Um, every day in our public healthcare systems is completely overrun by people who can't afford private healthcare. It has been a problem, I think, since the return of democracy after the referendum of the yes and the no. And in the case of education, for example, education is deemed by the government still today this day as a something as a means of consumption by the public. It is a lot of our education system is played by privatized corporations. There are many. For example, I went to a private school, and in fact, this is the thing in Chile: if it's not private, then it's not good, because only the private sector actually does things well. For example, my school was a private school, and it was the best school on the area particularly. It was the same thing in Santiago. The best schools are private. Health services are private. The
You're
best.
you're, you're roboting again, Pablo.
Going on. Robert,
I think
I think
yeah.
just
Yeah, his mic's a bit bad, I think. But Tarciso, I'll ask you this right quick, and then we'll let Pablo finish up. Um,
yeah.
if you don't mind, Pablo. Um,
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
um, and I actually said this to Cairo Lee in the chat here. How do you feel that small business, like small local owned businesses, are essential to prosperity in an area, or do you think that big businesses, like the chains, the WalMarts and things like that, are they healthy?
You want me to talk about the small companies, the small business?
Yes. How do you feel about them? Do you feel more comfortable with them than you would with the Walmarts and the McDonald's?
Oh, look, here in Brazil, we have a lot of monopolies, and oligopolies, and a lot of barriers of entrance, So the
Mm-hmm.
most affected it's the small entrepreneurs, because the largest companies, they actually enjoy the bureaucracy. They actually enjoy a lot of taxes because they can pay it for it. They can pay it for it. So the thing becomes difficult to the small guys that wants to provide services and products to the society. So that's what we have to have here in Brazil. More free market, less bureaucracy to do no companies.
Now, do you think Bolsonaro is going to bring that?
He wants. He minister. He really wants. But if the Congress will allow that, that's other story. You know. And if they don't, they will blame the Bolsonaro because look, the free market failed, and we need a left wing here in Brazil another time. That's what's gonna be. But I think I'm being positive. But that's it.
And definitely now, Pablo, you can
Mm-hmm.
re-answer his question there about the healthcare system in Chile.
Okay, so well, I don't know a lot, but what I know is that uh, only the private system is is good. Only the private system works. And look, I come from a family that could afford it. I mean, I don't come from a wealthy background. My parents just have they work hard, and I don't know. The problem with healthcare here in Chile is spans back, I think, during the late 70s. Um, but I don't know a lot about the healthcare system now to talk about it. I'm sorry, but that's the only thing I can say. In Chile, the public healthcare systems doesn't work. It's collapsed. There's a hospital in Santiago, La Posta Central. Every day, people wait in line to be for a doctor. There's people who have to arrive early in the morning, like 8 p.m., to get an hour because there's simply there's too many people, and the problem is that the system it wasn't designed for that amount of people. But I think another day I will have the data and I will send it to you. I don't know from the Discord or the group WhatsApp, but at the moment I don't have all the information about this.
Well,
I get it.
I oh sorry.
I wanna make another question to Paulo. Despite everything,
Mhm.
Chile nowadays is the best country in the South America to live in. And here in Brazil, we have a man. We need a Pinochet. And how do you feel about this? Everything you have said.
Look, look, it's funny that you asked because look, I think I've seen just once or twice people, at least here, for example, in the US, said use an example for something, because the thing is, Chile at the moment economically is better than other countries in the region. I wouldn't say that socially, but the thing is that here in Chile, public institutions work. Not some still do shitty shit, but they work. In fact, we're the most, aside from certain events, we're the most stable country in the region. Now, some people say that this is due to the neoliberal economy introduced by Pinochet during the military dictatorship. I say that in part. Now, some people say that we should thank Pinochet for that, and I don't know. I mean, in one hand, he was the reason why Chile is okay in Latin America, but in the other hand, he killed like 3,000 people. So I don't know. I don't say. I will say thank you, mi general. No, 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 no. But the thing now nowadays is we have a lot of people who still defend Pinochet, people who also criticize Pinochet, also people who hate Pinochet. I come from a family from which my mother, at least, she went out to protest against Pinochet. And for standards of today, she would have been deemed an SJW. Basically, she even told me a story that she um, went to a protest and she, with a flagpole, beat the crap out of a Pinochet supporter.
Wow.
Really, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And well, at the time after she left college, she started to become less and less active in politics. But the thing is, I don't like when people, for example, I like to meme about Pinochet. I like to meme about the helicopter thing and stuff like that because I'm Chilean. I feel that it's okay. But we have in Chile now this, I will say, two overly sensitive people who think that because some people meme with the helicopters or about Pinochet, they secretly support him. I've been attacked twice by people from my uni who claim I'm a facho because somehow I dress nicely because I don't know what that means, and because I posted one or twice a meme about Pinochet, but the meme explicitly was to do with the helicopter. And they said, "Why do you post that?" And I said, "It's a meme." And they said, "It's a dehumanizing joke." What? It's a meme. I mean, you post memes all day about killing fachos, and I post a single meme, just one, about throwing people out of helicopters. I don't know. That's yeah. And but overall, if I say
Essentially, right?
yeah,
Yo puedo hacer la broma,
what?
pero tú no.
Yes, yeah, it's that thing. It's that thing, and I hate it because in my uni, I'm in a very left-leaning uni. Every day, I am afraid because there's every day could be a protest, and I don't want to miss class. And every time in fact, every time I check the news, and I want to be sure. I don't know what they kill this Mapuche dude. I was like, holy fuck, we're gonna have a protest soon in college. Oh my god, it's Ozzy. And I remember, if I remember correctly, that we were in a sociology class, I think, and some of my classmates were speaking that we should abolish carabineros.
Yeah.
And my question, and I asked them what we should do. I mean, what would be the security force? And they say, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, they say we should have like a communal defense councils, like the junta de vecinos, as we call it. I say, okay, so we should disband our police force, and we should have the most trustworthy system of security invented to man. All women who gossip. That's your idea. Because that's what basically la junta de vecinos son. All women who gossip. They also call me a facho because of how I defended the police. No, I didn't defend them. I said, how you want to basically you would to abolish the police. What are you going to substitute about it? Do you think that everything is going to be okay by that? I mean, it's like this woman, Alexandra Ocasio Cortez, our communist cafecita. She wants to abolish ICE. Good luck with that. Hello?
Um. Yep.
Yep.
I'll say this though, like in response to like you, since Tarciso asked about healthcare in Chile. Um, since Canada only generally, at least here, has one tier. You know, it's only single payer, government funded healthcare. Um, ours has not yet collapsed, but it's close. I know that that my province spends 40%, I think, 40 or 41% of its annual budget on healthcare, and it's in the billions that we spend. I think we spend two around $4 billion in healthcare.
Ernest,
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
is it true that a lot of Canadians are having to come to US to have their medical issues solved?
I've heard cases, but I haven't heard. It's not like what people think. Like there's not tons of Canadians going south to get their treatment. The thing about people who like our healthcare system is good, but the problem is that it takes a lot of time. I mean, you can get it'll take you, say for example, you want to get cataracts, cut out of your eyes. That will take you about a year if there is no private surgeon. So like even like in my community, my town has 5,000 people, or what? No, 6,000. Sorry, 6,000 now. You cannot give birth here. There is no obstetricians to let you have a baby here. You have to go to another city an hour away to have a child. You cannot do it here. They will not do it unless it's an emergency.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we're regulated by healthcare system. We're regulated by different they're healthcare corporations, but they're essentially just like branches of the provincial Department of Health. And so they only let you have so many because I know one fellow who, well, I can't say I know him. I heard a story from a very, very, very good, credible source that he came here. He was from, I believe he was from Czechoslovakia, and he was a very good doctor, surgeon. And he wanted to build a house in my town because he liked the people, he liked the area. The healthcare corporation found out and summoned him. They took him right into the city. They said, you have to come in. So he goes into the city. He met with the president of the healthcare company, of the healthcare corporation. And they said, we heard you're moving. And he goes, well, yes, I'd like to live in this town. And they said, well, you shouldn't, because your contract could be terminated at any time. And he goes, well, what do you mean? He said, oh, well, the budgets are coming up. They're doing cuts and this and that. And he's like, are you threatening me? Are you telling me that I should not move? Or he's like, where should I move? And they said, well, you can move here. You want to buy a house in this city, you will be no problem, and we will renew your contract. But if you do it in where you live now, you might lose your contract. Then and he was actually pretty upset, because a surgeon is a very valuable thing to have. We need surgeons, and this guy was amazing. He's still here, thank God. What happened is his wife, who is also a medical doctor, bought a house without telling the corporation. And by the time they found out, they'd already moved everything out into the new house. And the corporation got very, very angry, but didn't do anything in the end. But the thing is that the services here are so limited that they try to distribute it to a central location. So my town is the hub for about 20,000 people. We are classified as a secondary hub. So basic services are centralized here. Anything specific, certain forms of advanced surgery. I mean, like we've got 2 or 3 general surgeons here. We've got probably 5, 10 doctors, about 10 for the 20,000 people, 5 around that. And we serve a population of 21,800, I think. But then you go to the nearby city. That city serves my area, the southern coast, serves, give or take, about 60, 70,000. They've got 2 or 3 obstetricians. They've got internists. They've got all the good doctors, except for 1 or 2 good ones. Then you have to go to the capital city. but if you have if you're a neurosurgeon and you want to live in my town, you will not be allowed. The government will not allow it to happen because you are too valuable to be in this town. They wouldn't let one guy open up private clinic, like eye clinic. He was an optical. He was a surgeon. He was an eye surgeon. I don't know the name. I think it's it's not an optometrist, but he was I call him an optical surgeon. And he wanted to build a clinic in the city near me, and it was going to employ 10 people. He had all the newest equipment. The only thing was that he wanted it to be a private practice, where because here it is, you don't, people generally don't pay cash for medical services. You show them your medical card, and then they give it to the government, and then they take it and they bill it, so that the government pays them for the services that you've done. And the government said, no, you cannot open this clinic. We do not want you to open it because we are nervous that you're going to start well, he wanted to do fee for service. He wanted to get paid by people to do it. And the government said no, because if you start doing that, our doctors who work for the provincial hospitals, they're not going to get work because you're going to be getting all the patients.
Wow.
So they came to a negotiation. He will not be paying. People are not allowed to pay him to see them faster. It's not allowed. If he does, he will be fined and investigated by the police. And is it police? Let me just double check. I had the article. What it is that if he tries to do the medical, like if he does a procedure and somebody pays him, say pays him $300, he gets fined $10,000. The government does not want you to do this, and there is such a culture of fear, at least in my region, about private Medicare. People don't want it. Well, unless they get sick, then they want to go to America and get things done. But you know what I'm trying to say here, Tarciso?
The health in Brazil is troublesome. Have a lot of bureaucracy to provide health plans, for example. People who who knows how to do a diet, who likes to do exercises or sports. We can't have how can I say, a plan, a soft plan, a small plan, like, oh look, I just want to be I just want to have the security against the tragedies. I just need an orthopedist and a general practitioner. I can have this. The government says that the companies that provide health insurance have to put a lot of specialities, like 10 for minimum the minimal plan that has to cover, so that makes the minimal plans here very expensive. It's not everyone can have a health plan here, so people usually has to go to the public system, and the public system, they don't have needles in many cases. They don't have
Really?
Oh, wow.
they don't have the minimum to cover people. They don't have cotton.
Well, I got a good one here. Like in my town, we don't have enough just family doctors. For me to go get an appointment with my doctor, I can't just walk in and see him. It'll take me about 2 to 3 weeks to see my doctor. And even then, he's overbooked because my doctor, I cannot I if the appointment is for 11 o'clock, I am not going to see my doctor at 11 o'clock. I'm going to see my doctor at 2:30 in the afternoon. I've done that. It's been like that. Because my doctor overbooks a lot. So there might be 2 people besides me with the same appointment. And I think the rate here is $30 a patient. That's what you see. If you see a doctor and you do nothing else other than just see him and say, "Hi, how are you? Here's your drugs. Have a good day."
Here's your drugs.
Yeah, you get $30. That's it, right up front. $30 pay. So if you see if you see about 100 patients a day, you're doing very, very well. And I think my doctor sees about 120 people a day. So he probably makes it with $3,600 a day. Billing people.
I get it. So what I can say about not only just in Brazil, in South America in general, the government, they like to difficult the life of the private health professional as much as possible, and when they cannot provide the services that the needy population needs, the government appears like the savior. You see, if you were not for me, you will not have health. But they caused the problem in the first place. They bring in, they give you a poor system of health, and they call it mercy.
Yeah, I think that's the same all over. I think, I mean, from my experiences in Peru when I was there, it is the healthcare system is not something that I would really rely on if I got sick. The pharmacies in Peru are terrifying, by the way, and I see that my favorite Peruvian is here, some little llama.
Llama.
I have to tell you, I hate Peruvian pharmacies. I hate all of them. They are evil because it is the ultimate example. No, it's inefficient. I have to see 3 people to get bloqueador de sol. Sunscreen. I have to get.
Really?
I had to. When I went in May, I went to an Inca Pharma in Lima, and I go in, and it is literally the greatest example of bureaucracy, and this is why I'm saying it. You go to one person to place the order. They give you a piece of paper. The other person is literally standing directly behind you, behind a desk. And you have to go, and they could have heard your entire conversation, and they might know exactly what you want, but they do nothing. So you go and you give them the little ticket, and you pay them. They give you another ticket, and you have to walk over to the third person, and then they give you the product and give you your receipt. I did this. They gave me skin moisturizer by mistake. I said, well, no. I said, this is the wrong thing. They said, well, okay, you'll have to go back through the process, sir. And I said, well, no, you're right here. Just give me the sunscreen. Give me the bloqueador de sol. And they said, no. You have to go through the process. So I had to go back. I had to tell the person who I had just told that I needed the sunscreen that this was the wrong kind that I needed. I needed better. They then did the whole thing over again. And it was terrible. And Llama has probably experienced this because Peruvian pharmacies are shit. And actually, no, Llama, was I messaging you when I was in Lima and this happened? I had the sunscreen problem. And I had to they gave me the moisturizer because my arms were literally as red as a lobster. I didn't realize that the sun was so bright, and I've been to Peru several times, but I don't know what happened. I ended up, my arms were so red that in photos it looked like I was dying.
We'd love to see that.
Yeah. But um, if there's anything to hate, if there's any reason to hate bureaucracy, and now I've earned a new hatred of it, and that is standing in line at a Peruvian pharmacy to get the wrong product.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's a quote: uh, "If you if a service is too bad or have a lot of queues, a lot of lines, the first thing we have to ask is this: is the government banning competition in this area? You know, in all cases, the answer will be yes. You know, they difficult the lives of people that want to provide their services as best as they can, and the population is the one that suffers from that.
It is, but by the way, there's these pretty soon. I am hoping to have a economist from Guyana come on the show.
Guyana.
And I was wondering if you would be interested in coming on to the show when she does as well, and we could all have a discussion.
Yeah, I can. I can be.
Yeah, because I we are going to be talking about some topics that are going to involve Brazil again. Um, but um, I think that bureaucracy. Just getting back on topic, I think bureaucracy is the greatest poison to efficient society and prosperity, because you have because everything for them is queues and lines and order.
Look
Um,
what Cairo said in the. I'm sorry. Look what Cairo said in the chat about this sweepstakes. Do you know that word? It's like a lottery.
Sweepstakes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. The lottery is big here.
yeah. We cannot do this here in Brazil. We doesn't have casinos. We can do sweepstakes. You know, if you have a YouTube channel and you say to your public, hey, we're gonna sweepstake I don't know, an iPhone. We cannot do this in Brazil. You know, only the
Are you
government
are you
has
serious?
this. I'm being serious.
Really?
Only the government can have this, and they make a lot of money doing this. You know, a lot, every Wednesday and every Saturday, their lines are huge. People want to do just a little sweepstake. You know, that's that's how things are here in
It
Brazil.
it's the same here. I think they did a study, and my province has the highest rate of people who pay into the lottery system in this region. I think we paid $42 million last year in lottery tickets, and I'll try to find the exact number because I don't like to lie. I'm not trying to lie, but I figured out. But we only have 500,000 people live here. That's all we have is 500,000 people live on this in this province. Um, let me see. I'm just trying to find this. Because let me see. People keep winning. People keep winning. Um, it's just that the lottery system here
Oh, sorry.
is salute. Um, oh, here it is. Our lottery spend. This was actually a big controversy. People got very, very angry about this. Let me see. Sales have reached. Oh, this is a good $405 million in lottery. We spend $405 million a year. Or is this? Or wait, let me see. Yep. For we also are the highest users of something called poll tickets. There's those little, like, those little cards, and you pull on them and you get like 3 cherries or 3 bells or something like that.
Okay.
Well, no, like it's a lottery thing. It's like, you ever seen those scratch cards? People scratch.
Oh yes, I've seen it.
Imagine those, except instead you just pull back some cardboard and it has the 3 numbers. It's like a paper slot machine, kind of a thing.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
We spend a lot of those on those. We have in every nightclub and bar, you have automatic video terminals, lottery terminals. So they're computerized ones. There's 6 of those in each bar, or I think no, you're allowed to have 8. You're allowed to have 8 video lottery terminals. And those at the bars here are empty, but those machines are always occupied. I've seen people go there. I used to go out with a bartender once, a long time ago, and I used to go visit her at when the bar would open at 11 in the morning. So the bar would open at 11. There would be a line of people, probably about 6-7 people, waiting to go inside and use those machines. And I would come back, those same people would be there. And I come back at 7:30 at night, and they'd still be there. And they're putting in $20 bills each time. But like I said, we spend $405 million a year gambling. Yet we are the poorest province in the country. So
You can explain that. I mean,
well,
of course, there's a reason you spend all the money in gambling, basically.
Well, gambling is a big problem here. I mean, we gamble on everything. Even the Catholic Church is gambling now.
Yep.
No, they have something called Chase the Ace. It's a lottery thing, and yeah, Chase the Ace. You have to go with a deck of cards, and whoever gets the ace wins all the money. It was so successful near the capital city that I don't know, do they have Knights of Columbus in Chile?
What?
The Knights of Columbus?
What is that?
Caballeros de Columbus? Probably not. Well, they're people with weird hats, and it's a Catholic fraternal order. It's interesting. They wear like big admiral hats with swords and stuff. It's a weird thing. They're well, I mean, it's just,
de Colón.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they have those.
As far as I can say, no. I haven't seen them or haven't heard of them, actually.
Well, they're a Catholic like society here. They held one of those Chase the Ace events. They built a new clubhouse with just the money. They won, I think the prize was $2 million. Somebody won $2 million, and the Knights of Columbus earned enough money to build like a $500,000 clubhouse. So people here really like to gamble, but it's all regulated by the government. The government has to be the ones to tell you what if you can get your lottery license. You have to have the license. You have to have a license if you're a charity, you have to get government permission to go and hunt wild animals for food. Like a moose. I don't know what the word for moose is in Spanish.
Alce.
Housing.
Yeah.
Alce.
If you want to go and say, if you want to do something good, like charitable, like if you're a hunter and you go out and you shoot an alce and you say, well, I want to give this moose to my local food bank, to help people who are starving. That's very generous, right? The government will not let you do that without a license. The government will not let you do it unless the meat is inspected. It has to be inspected. It has to be certified. If there's even a slight thing wrong with it, the meat is destroyed. So you cannot even um you can't even hunt and do charitable deeds in Newfoundland, or else the government will get you. You also can't fish wherever you want. You're not allowed. The government, you need a license for that, and there's only certain rivers you can fish in. You can't fish off of a dock. You're not allowed to do that. If the fisheries police catch you, you're in trouble. Um, if you're a poacher, you're going to prison.
I see.
So
Mhm.
we're very strict, regulated society. Um, and I don't like it. And now we have a drug crisis. Everyone here
Really?
needs. Ooh, it's bad.
How
People.
bad?
Long story short, there is a lineup at my local pharmacy every day for people to get their opioids.
Opioids? Really?
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Opioids
we need a
are very bad here. The
we
police.
need another opium war soon.
Well, um, I think you know the rank of technico, like police.
Hmm.
Well, well, here the local police force services, like I said, the region, so 20,000 people. They have like 22 officers led by a technico. That's the only police we've got. That's the only security forces we've got in this region. And
Wow.
we can't handle the drug crime. And with the drug crime comes the decline in the economy because you've got people on drugs. They're not working. They're not trying to work. They want to get high. That's it. And now we've legalized marijuana. I personally, I don't use marijuana. I don't like the effects of it. I've never even tried it. I think it's not a good thing for society to have, readily available.
I mean, I'm okay with it as long as you. Well, I'm of the idea that if you want to do drugs, go ahead, do it. But it's your body. I mean, I have this sense of people who smoke. I hate it. I don't do it. But if you want to do it, go ahead. But in the end, it's your life. It's the same thing with coke, with every kind of drug.
Oh no, I'm completely against cocaine. I think if anything harder than marijuana, you should go to prison. Because those things, I I see these drugs as something that lowers productivity. It lowers,
Hmm.
it causes, more poverty. So I must disagree with, you know, legalization of more drugs. Now, Tarcisa, how do you feel about like the potentially legalizing marijuana?
Pablo said he wants the legalization of every single drug.
No, 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 no. I never said legalization. I said that if you want to do it, you better be ready for the consequences. But I don't say that we should legalize coke or other stuff. I just say that if you want to do it, go ahead. But it's you have to attend to the consequences. I think with marijuana, I'm more subtle with it, but
Okay.
I don't know. I know the benefits that marijuana has, but I also know the downsides because every drug has its downsides. So you want marijuana, but I think the problem I have is that we have a generation of youngsters. Basically, for example, in my uni, everyone smokes marijuana, and if you don't smoke, you're not. No, you want to be with the cool kids. You have to smoke marijuana. I can't, and I won't do it. But if you want to do it, okay.
Yeah, I
Yes.
get it. In
Mhm.
my opinion, as I said to you earlier, I'm a libertarian, so I am in favor of marijuana because I think the policy is just wasting resources, and people they are just doing
Yep.
trade, commerce. There's a people that wants to do drugs, and there is a guy that wants to sell the drugs. So I don't see a problem in this. It's a individual uh, individual option. I doesn't have how to. I doesn't have property in the other people's body.
I think we lost him.
Oh, his mic is not good. Um,
Now,
what he was saying, I agree with what he was saying. Basically, then
oh, I think I heard him.
hello. I kind of lost you there.
Hear me?
A little bit, a little bit.
A little bit.
The prohibition of the drugs. Can you hear me?
Yes. Part of it, but
The prohibition will not
you say that.
end the drug war. You
Mhm.
know, they're just gonna be losing lives of policies. You know, and doing war. That's not gonna end because the prohibition makes a lot of gives a lot of power to the narcos, como se dice, drug dealers. Okay, então
Mhm.
so that's my opinion because we can't win this fight, and that's just we have, in my opinion, we have to respect the other people choice. You know, people have the must have the liberty of how can I say do bad things to their lives. I can't I can't go against this. You know, that's their choice.
Well,
I respect that.
and
Yes.
now, as I said, like I personally don't like drugs. I don't use them. I have no interest to use them.
I hate drugs.
That's where
Mhm.
no. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. That's where it ends in me. I don't really. I even though I don't do it, I cannot go out in good conscience and tell someone you cannot do this. But I do admit I'm not as libertarian as Tarciso. I draw the line at cocaine. Cocaine is the worst thing that we can have. I mean, it's poison. Marijuana, I can get along with. Because I mean, how many people on marijuana do you see causing trouble? You know, they're too busy laughing.
I only
Know that
see some idiots talking shit about others, but no.
Go on, Tarciso.
about the cocaine. You know, in the Europe, right? New Zealand, Australia, the young people they really do cocaine, right? And that's sad, man. In my opinion, it's sad, you know. But that's their choice. We can. I think we can't. How can I say? Make a prohibitive, you know, against them. That's their choice. That's their bodies, you know.
Well, yes, it is their choice, but at the same time, I mean, these drugs are rather serious. I mean, and we can't just let everyone do whatever they want, or else we're gonna have chaos. Certain things like marijuana, I in terms of drugs, it's essentially harmless. I mean, nowadays you can get drugs from the pharmacy that is worse. But now, when we're talking about, say, heroin, for example, it's poison. It kills you. We as and if you look at it from an economics perspective, it doesn't make sense to let your workforce do cocaine or heroin or crack or hard pills because there's a potential of overdose, there's a potential of increased mental health issues because I mean there is a correlation with people using drugs and having in making say if they have schizophrenia, it gets worse. um and also they're unproductive because people are going to stay home and get stoned on these drugs because they're incredibly addicting. Marijuana is not incredibly addicting, but you can smoke it and generally still work. I hope if you're as long as you're not using like driving or using heavy machinery.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to see the criminal. I want to continue the criminalization of the hard drugs for the sole point that it is damaging to productivity, and we cannot afford to have our workforce killed off by their own bad decisions, like literally at that kind of risk. Um, sorry?
Oh, hello. Hmm? Um, hey, Ernest, can we talk about the case of the Mapuche who was assassinated, basically?
Yes, yes. We'll talk about that, and then we'll probably end up wrapping it up.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a story that has been recently going on in the beautiful country of Chile. So recently was a case of a Mapuche who was killed in a police operation to capture 3 car thieves. Give you the context. Although Chile, there's the region of the Araucanía. The Araucanía is the traditional home of the Mapuche people. The Mapuches are the largest of the native inhabitants of Chile in terms of the population, and many of them have recently begun protesting because they want back lands they were stole like 400 years before, like during the conquest period. At first, it started all normally. Protests, people, many people support them here, primarily leftists who constantly attack our government of being a fascist dictatorship, which no. But then it started to transform into this some sort of terror attacks. Mapuche start targeting logging companies, farms, and many of them not attacking them only with knives, no, with guns. Many of them actually are stockpiling weapons that are being smuggled by other Mapuche groups from Argentina. I've heard they're smuggling assault rifles and handguns. Now, after that, the unrest in the region was so widespread that the government had to create a special unit, the Comando Jungla. The Comando Jungla are a operation unit of operations. I think they're like 80 men. They've been trained in Colombia in counter-terrorism, basically, and they have bulletproof vests, assault rifles, and armored vehicles. They're pretty overpowered, if I say so myself. So what happened was that during there was a car thief operating in a sector in Araucanía, and at first they sent the regular police. Problem was that then they start shooting the police, and then Carabineros, the police force in Chile, called the Comando Jungla. Comando Jungla sent some of their operators down in the area, and then they what happened was that a Mapuche, a comunero, known as Camilo Catrillanca, was riding his tractor nearby, and the policeman, the Comando Jungla, asked him to please step out of the vehicle and surrender himself to the authorities because they thought at the moment he was one of the men implicated in that incident. He said no. He turned his tractor around. The Comando Jungla shot first to the air, then they shot to the tractor to draw his attention. He's nothing, and then they shot him to the head, killing him in an instant. They also captured a 15-year-old man.
And Pablo, what Colombia has to do with this story?
Oh, sorry. So, the Comando Jungla operatives were training Colombia in terrorist tactics and counterterrorism. And the reason why they choose Colombia is because the south of Chile is heavily forested. Many and the ones behind the Comando Jungla thought that Colombian jungles could work for an understanding of the Chilean forests. To make the operators familiarize themselves with a more forested environment. Um, I still don't know why Colombia, but if I read some sources correctly, U.S. advisors actually handed training on tactics of fighting guerrilla tactics to the Comando Jungla. So this guy was shot in the head. He died in an instant. They also they captured a 15-year-old boy who was riding with Camilo Catrillanca. Then I heard that a judge declared that detention illegal, and he was left free. So what happened later was a complete storm of the death of this man. Um, at first, Carabineros said that he got crossed in the crossfire. But then, as more details start pouring in, what happened was that basically this guy was executed by the Comando Jungla. And was worse, usually special forces nowadays, any special forces in the world, now uses cameras on their helmets. The reason why is to keep record basically what they're doing in case of, I don't know, they have their court martial or something, and they have to know what is going on. And what happened was that the alleged event, at first Carabineros said no, they didn't record the event. The cameras, they didn't have the cameras at the moment, but they were lying. The operators had the cameras on their helmets and they record the entire incident. What happened later was that the carabinero who actually shot the guy later took the memory card out of his camera and destroyed it. Mm-hmm. And now, at this moment, there is an entire storm of people who want our new Ministry of Interior, Chadwick, to resign because they claim that he lies the responsibility of basically this comunero lying dead in the ground. And also some people want basically the complete disbandment of the Comando Jungla. Now, I don't know if people outside of Chile have heard this this news, or anyone else, but if you listen about this, the only thing I will say, because look, first of all, is it defensible what this guy did, what the carabineros of the Comando Jungla did? Because they shot a guy in the head, basically by the back, behind his back, and yes, and well, now the thing I have now is that every time something like this happens, everyone starts creating a martyr out of anyone. So this guy Camilo Catrillanca has now become, like, I think the sixth martyr of the leftists here in Chile, which, look, I don't have a problem with, but now everyone can be a martyr. I mean, tomorrow I could basically be killed by by carabineros, and I could be a martyr. So the only thing I will say is that I hope that the ones who kill him go to justice, but I also want to tell Chilean leftists, at least, that why the Comando Jungla exists. They exist because the situation in Araucanía has gotten out of hand. Mapuches are attacking trucks, are attacking farms, churches, setting them on fire, basically. In fact, there was a number of incendiary attacks recently, and according to a guard who was standing, I think it was a logging factory, he said he was held at gunpoint by a group of hooded men, and they say this is for our comrade Camilo Catrillanca, and they set a fire logging depot.
Wow.
So what's the public opinion about the way Piñera is dealing with this situation?
That's actually an interesting question. So the public opinion in general sees that Piñera is the one to blame for all of this. He's the one who wanted to create the Comando Jungla. He's the one who gave them complete jurisdiction of this sector. So public opinion is very low on the side of the government. Now, also is low on Carabineros' action, because we just coming out of a corruption case, because corruption case that involved millions and millions of dollars on the higher command of Carabineros. I heard there was money, and it's funny that at first the sum was like 100 millones de pesos, something like that. But then the sum started getting higher and higher every day. the Director General de Carabineros at that moment actually had to resign because of the way this event was handled. So people now don't trust Carabineros. So when the first report of Carabineros that he was caught in a crossfire, no one believed it. In fact, our own minister, Chadwick, said, no one believes Carabineros. Anything they say, no one is going to believe it. Now, I don't think Chadwick has to resign. I don't think. I think the guys who need to resign are of course, the people who committed this crime. But I don't think. Two of the main commanders of the Comando Jungla have actually resigned. Chadwick asked for the resignation, but I don't think Chadwick has to resign because he doesn't have anything to do with this. The ones who have to do with this are the guys who shot him and their commanders, because they know this whole affair. And Chadwick is actually trying to clarify this. He went into a press conference saying he was the one who said the member of Carabineros who shot the guy destroyed the memory card of his camera. So I say he doesn't have to resign. Sorry. He doesn't have to resign. I think Chadwick is handling really well because this is a very tough moment, basically. Because, first of all, we're on the government of the right here in Chile, and leftists are in full force. And look, I'm not going to just stand here and say, "Oh no, these leftists complain of everything." No, a guy was shot and killed. I think that I want the full power of justice to fall on the ones responsible. But I'll say the only thing I say is that I don't think Chadwick has to resign. I think he should stay, and I think they should reevaluate the whole event. But that's my stance. I don't think we should have to disband the Comando Jungla. I think it should stay in because, as I said, there have been more incendiary attacks after this guy died. I think Comando Jungla should still stay in Araucanía. I don't think it should disband it. But I think that they should be more careful next time. And of course, I think they should a more how do I say this? Sorry, I lost myself there. But you get what I say.
Oh, yes, definitely. Did you understand everything, Teresa or Tarciso? Sorry.
No, I'm not aware of this subject, but I see a lot of violence. You're not used to this level of violence in Chile, right?
Oh.
No, this is something. No, this is something that we're not accustomed to. And even more than when the Comando Jungla appeared on the public scene, it already caused controversy because they were so heavily armed. Because I remember I saw the first pictures when they were introduced. They showed the 80 members, all of them clad in bulletproof vests and ballistic helmets. They have also, as far as I read, night vision goggles, assault rifles, choppers. They have also armored vehicles, and I've also heard they have drones on the power. So I'll say that it was quite impressive showmanship of firepower, and people were like, "What are these guys going to do?" So yes, I think it's been time since we have something like this in Chile, a long time ago. And I mean, it really scares me what may go on in La Araucanía, because I'm scared that one day probably Mapuches are going to just basically go full on attacking. Not only, they go full Palestinian. They want to. I mean, basically, one of the main things that Mapuches are protesting is that they want their own autonomous region in Araucanía, like their own state. Problem is that the Chilean constitution doesn't allow this. And of course, Chilean authorities are not going to allow that their territory is disintegrated into another state. But I hope that we don't get to a point in which as you said, Mapuches go full Palestinian, and we have like a civil war in Araucanía. I don't want violence to spread. I'm actually pretty scared. I'm actually scared that imagine if Mapuches are stop attacking logging companies and churches, and they start attacking cities, like planting bombs or something. Because they could do it. They could easily do it in the future. Not now, but in the future.
Definitely. It is a serious issue, but guys, I think we've been streaming now for a good couple hours. I think we've kind of covered most of everything. Eduardo, when you're listening, and I know he is going to be listening because he does love this podcast. We did miss the story about the murderer, but we're going to wait for you to come back and you can cover that one. That one's going to be good.
Yeah.
So, Tarciso, thank you very much. In Portuguese, obrigado for coming.
Obrigado.
And it was fun. It was good having you on. I know we kind of went a bit off topic, but you know we had a good conversation. So and we hope to have you on again in the future. And is there anything you want to say before we end the stream?
You were really good. I liked the topics. I wasn't prepared for some of them, but I could learn with you, and it was great. We can do it more.
Oh yeah, definitely. We learned. I learned a bit too. I mean, it's always good to have a conversation and learn a few things, and then have someone keep us back on our toes and keep us on topic, which is it's like being a shepherd to a bag of cats. It's like shepherding cats. You know, it's like you've heard of the phrase herding cats? Not hurting, but herding, like shepherding cats. It's like that. It's kind of difficult to keep us all in focus.
I don't think I've heard of the phrase.
I don't. And well, we will continue the conversation briefly offline. So with that, I mean, I'm Ernest.
Ozzy.
And with that, guys, have a good night. We will see you. We'll see everyone next Sunday. My goodness, I'm tired. But thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.